Hello everyone and happy Christmas. My name is Dave Emery and I'm here on behalf of Sacha Stone and his team to wish you a very happy Christmas with this, our Christmas message. Actually, it's a message with a slight historical difference because this date, the 21st of December 2022, is an especially wonderful and momentous time in all of our histories. It really is. It has been a time long foretold and very much anticipated, and it truly does involve you. Let me tell you why. In 1965, Hollywood released a blockbuster film of truly biblical proportions with John Wayne and Charlton Heston, Max von Sydow, Sidney Poitier, Richard Conte, Dorothy McGuire, Angela Lansbury, and a cast of thousands. It was truly an epic film, and it told an epic story. The story of Jesus of Nazareth and his life. The film was called The Greatest Story Ever Told. And what I'm speaking of today is the astounding backdrop to that story and how that backdrop holds you and me and every other being in this colossal matrix of universes in the heart of its meaning and its energy. In fact, here and now, that story reaches its astounding conclusion for Earth and every one of us as we choose. It is the greatest story never told, and echoes so much of all that the being we know as Jesus brought into our timeline more than 2,000 years ago. This story, or rather our story, begins really around 250 billion years ago as we understand time. I know it's an amount of time that no Earth scientist would ever believe, but science here on Earth hasn't yet comprehended the true complexities of the cosmos. Back then, you see, in the deepest and yet most spiritually elevated parts of our Andromeda galaxy, a vast cataclysm occurred which destroyed the planet Arimatena, our Dimension 12 universal Stargate energy portal, through which the energies of God's source naturally flowed into all of the universes. By the way, the Andromeda galaxy is properly our original home galaxy, you see, not the Milky Way galaxy, which was within and part of the Andromeda galaxy, but which got shifted out of that space with Earth inside it because of the huge cataclysm I just mentioned. When enormous destructions like that occur in the heavens, vast areas of the universal map get cut out of the collective natural energy grid of consciousness, and they drop rapidly in frequency to become what is known as subtime distortion fields, which cannot connect with the natural flows of source energy. They become instead progressively lower frequency or descending universes, which must consume, via black holes, energies from everywhere around them, because they no longer have access to the eternal flows of source energy. In the 1970s here on Earth, this whole event was race memorized in the films of George Lucas and called Star Wars. And their race memory effect on us is one reason why they became so popular. This massively destructive long ago event in our universe happened because two races of enormous technological power collided with egotistical intent, and in destroying whole planets in the cradle of Lyra, they lost sight of all they had ever known, of love and of oneness. In their grief and loss and shock and horror at what had occurred to their families and their worlds, they chose forever to oppose the natural life-giving dynamics of the cosmos and to defy the cosmic creative forces that designed and organized all that is. They blamed God's source of the all that is for the disasters that had overtaken them. They became, through choice, the fallen. It is this catastrophic event in deep history that the Bible actually refers to as the original sin, and not the behavior of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. This momentous galactic development meant that the fallen chose to oppose the universal Christos. Christos written with a K, which we refer to as the Christos written with a CH instead. Yet it is the same. and from whence Jesus' title as the Christ comes. That's the universal Christos. This Christos is the energetic force that holds eternally all of eternal life, everywhere within our time matrix of universes, in accordance with an intelligent, original design. The fallen beings who were once angels of life fell out of love and oneness with this original Christos force, and both races of these fallen angels embarked upon a determined search for the ways in which they could control all that is and to eliminate all of what went before in the form of that natural, intelligent design. In fact, they even cut out of their own biogenetic makeup their 12th strand of DNA so that they could never again become the angels of God's source that they had promised to be. They therefore disallowed any of their race line from forever holding that 12th dimensional strand, so that none could ever ascend into the higher domains of heaven. You see, they were that serious. And cutting out that 12th strand meant also that no enlightened gestalt from the higher dimensions of God's source could ever enter into their universe. Because they had once been powerful co-creators, they now chose to create a way of life that would be better than the original of the all that is. They created an artificial copy of that original, a phantom matrix of life. In doing so, they also created an alternative game for living, a game which involved victims and victimizers, force, fear, and the fall of freedom. In fact, the very opposite of the design for living created in the original. The fallen also began to despise all beings who still believed in the love and oneness of the original God source, design and intent. They chose instead to seek ways to control and consume all of the energy of those who continue to follow the true light and sound of that God source design. In doing that, the fallen also, over time, became entirely patriarchal and exclusively acquisitive in using the outflowing creative powers of their once divine masculine energies. And as they did that, they learned to control and slow the nurturing, complementary inflow forces of the divine feminine, so that it could not bring the balance of these two primal natural energies back into the universe. In this way, over vast eons of time, the masculine patriarchal energies became the primary energetic force in many descending universes. The wars and the conflicts continued for hundreds of billions of years, and 570 million years ago, it was still raging right around Earth, our solar system, and all of our local universe. Throughout all of these huge wars of staggeringly powerful energy weapons and planetary and galactic destruction, a large collective of enlightened beings had formed an interstellar association of free worlds, sometimes known as the Guardian Alliance. And just as the whole of our universal matrix of 12 dimensions was about to be pulled into what the Bible called the pit of fire and flame and lost forever, the Guardian Alliance decided that they would create a unique and spiritually elevated race line of beings whose task would be to bring order out of the chaos and the remembrance of universal love and oneness, to dissolve the hatred and fear, the sense of loss, and the despair. These new beings were known as the Turanosiums, born from the Orifim genome, the DNA of the lighted ones, the most powerful and enlightened genome that the gestalts of enlightenment from beyond the 15th dimension could create. Their genome was composed of 12 to 48 strands of DNA. This genome would manifest throughout our universe a biospiritual regenesis of all conscious life forms, and this process is the true evolutionary expansion for all natural life forms everywhere. This is how we evolve. This natural process, whereby the DNA accretes, collects more and more energetic dimensional frequency within its strands, in doing so, helps to prepare the physical body to hold progressively more and more dimensionalized frequency, and to ascend the dimensions until eventually, when each soul being is ready, it has accreted all the dimensional frequencies of all 12 matter dimensions of our universe. As it does so, it expands its conscious awareness of self, because the DNA is aligned with consciousness. And the more DNA we have assembled, the higher and more aware is our consciousness. And it helps us understand the structure of universal existence, from the densest of material universes such as ours, to the universes of plasma, light and sound, and those beyond in the ineffable heavens of antimatter. The most elevated of these Turinosian beings carried either the emerald sun or the diamond sun genome. These beings are your pre-ancient ancestors. You carry their race-line genomic powers within you. You hold the current keys to the kingdom of heaven in your affiliation for genuine love and the oneness of all creation. It is you who are the angelic humans, guardians of the Christos and empowerers of the Christos realignment bioregenesis mission in our universal matrix. And that is why so many of the fallen's elite hybrid human geopolitical controllers in our world have sought for so long to distort our DNA and force us to forget who we truly are. Over many tens of millions of years, the beings who chose war and control over this love and oneness, which is also known as at-one-ment, well, they tried in every way to stop this newly created race of beings, you, from succeeding in your mission. They tried to destroy all of us. When they realized that our genomic powers were also keyed to the energy of the planets we existed on, they tried to distort us bio-spiritually. And then they tried to force us into fears which would make us feel separated from all of source life everywhere, and to forget our soul heritage as guardians and protectors and healers of the worlds we came from. It had been like the experiment with fire ants and black ants, which were placed in a glass jar and which lived perfectly easily together, until something or someone shook the jar violently, and then the ants fought amongst themselves to the death, with both species thinking that the other had deliberately shaken their peaceful coexistence. So we might ask ourselves, who has been shaking our jar? The fallen and the hybrids caused us to fight amongst ourselves and to hate each other and to fear each other and to fight wars for the fallen angels against each other's, whilst all the time it was the fallen, through astral mind control and dream state possession of their human hybrid elites on Earth, who secretly planned and fixed all the opportunities to distort and destroy and cause despair. Yet the Guardian Alliance never gave up on their purpose. They never gave up on us either. And they always believed that we could fulfill our unique and sacred mission one day, some way. You see, they knew that for us to reset the whole of all of our life fields everywhere within our time matrix, we had to re-engage the Dimension 12 Maharata current of natural, eternal, and original life force that had been cut and damaged in the destruction of our Matena 250 billion years ago. That had to be our divine commission. That is what we were designed to fulfill, if we so choose. Through activating the proper sequences within our DNA template tribal shield, meaning all of us collectively, regardless of tribe or race or nation, we allow the proper sequences of the universal D12 Maharata current and rainbow ray current to enter our bodies. And as we hold within our DNA the original encryption of the divine Christos, we can pass these frequencies into Earth's shields and grids and help her to re-engage with her original Christed state. For planets are just like us. They are beings of consciousness. As we do all this, we also re-engage our own original Christed state, our personal Christos blueprint, our encryption of source, which is always there. Through embodiment of our personal inner Christos divine blueprint, we achieve perfect spiritual actualization and reclaim our ability to pass through the 12 universal Stargate ascension passages and into the vastly enlightened domains of God's source, the domains that Jesus called God's many mansions. When we do all this, we fulfill our intended angelic human mastery of the space-time matter experience and can live eternally and in full conscious awareness of who we are and all we have ever been. And to accomplish all of this, the Guardian Alliance knew that they had to, in effect, reset our natural DNA encryption, like reboot it all again, and help it to re-engage with the vast currents of original God source energy that have always been our birthright, our true gift from the heavens. Yet for many millennia, since 208,216 BC, actually, when the fallen created further chaos in our universe, it was not certain that we could access these natural flows from God's source and therefore succeed in our sacred mission. It was a very close-run thing, and many times humanity has been on the brink of extinction and absolute failure in our purpose. In fact, the last and most dangerous time for us was in the years from 2001 through 2012. Yet the Guardian Alliance never left our side and always believed that salvation could be secured in spite of the tremendous odds stacked against us. They knew, of course, that as Peter Lemazurier said in his book, The Great Pyramid Decoded, that the natural feedback within a universe will always insist on returning to a state of balance, and that nothing in any quantum collective is ever truly lost. Yet, they did not want us to risk losing even one soul, if saving it could be secured. So they knew ahead of time that one last opportunity to fulfill the angelic human Christos realignment mission and for the saving of our whole universe could be achieved in the momentous years from 2000 AD through to 2022 AD, here and now. That was to be our final now moment. This was always designed to be our final now moment. You see, every 26,000 years, there is a natural expansion cycle activated throughout every universe, whereby vast flows of source energy, eternal energy from the primal energy fields of the original, move not just through every planetary system, but also through the physical body templates of every life form, including, of course, us. The fallen human hybrids would have us believe that the shift in world temperatures is to do with what they call climate change, which they insist we created. But in fact, such shifts are because of the vast inflows of high-frequency plasma energy now pulsing through our universe. These flows were always designed to expand naturally our DNA frequencies and therefore our conscious awareness. That's what their purpose was. But for more than 210,000 years, these flows have been stopped by the actions of many warring groups of fallen beings because the expansion cycles have been halted, preventing us from expanding our DNA in the designed manner until 2000 AD. In that year, the cause of the stoppage was corrected by the Guardian Alliance, and they knew that from 2000 AD through to 2022 AD, the flows would begin once again everywhere, and that humanity would inevitably expand consciousness and realize its place amongst the souls of heaven and the stars and the realms of higher dimensional existence. Those times are now. We, you, have been expanding consciousness very rapidly now for more than 20 years, and some for much longer than that. This moment of enormous change was known to be arriving long before our lifetimes. It was known thousands of years ago that this moment on Earth would arrive in our times here and now. For you see, time is simultaneous and not a linear progression. And it allows for what our filmmakers call time travel, both forwards and backwards, in the endless sequence of life, if you know how holographic reality works. To prepare Earth and all of us for that critical moment in time-space, they asked a being of the 12th dimension, pre-matter, plasma light fields, to incarnate here on Earth, just after the Roman Empire shifted from a republic and into an empire. It was known that such a geopolitical shift would begin the descent of humanity and Earth into a maelstrom of more and more war and weaponized beliefs and genomic distortion, chaos and fear and separation from source and our own self-identity as beings of source. This was known. It was also known that that descent, begun by the Roman Empire, would last for 2,000 years, leading to a final confrontation between biblical good and evil in the 21st century, here and now, with us. The fallen beings actually reset our timeline experiences through timeline insertions, so that the Roman Empire would literally appear in time for them to try and stop the changes that they too knew were to begin here and now in the 21st century. It wasn't just the three wise men who knew that what was going to happen 2,000 years ago. So if this fallen geosocial, spiritual and political development could not be balanced with the truth and the light of the Christos, then all would indeed be lost. The being we know as Jesus, who actually had to physically incarnate here from the plasma light fields of the 12th dimension, he couldn't just materialize in a ball of light because of the energy blockages within our universe, brought with him to Earth and into our conscious awareness two vital aspects of the cosmic creative force, the true sacred science of the spheres of heaven. He brought back the pre-ancient details of the Mahabharata texts, the true history of humanity, our universe, how it really works, and our personal connection with God Source, and how all of life is connected through love as one. These texts form the basis of all of humanity's religions, whether Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, all of them originated in the Mahabharata texts of nearly 250,000 years ago, and which Jesus returned again for us. But all of these texts were deliberately distorted by the fallen angels through their human hybrid elites, so that the scriptures contained some truths of the cosmic creation, but in which most truths were falsified, perverted, or omitted entirely. Jesus, also known as Jeshua 12 of the soul essence Sananda in the fourth harmonic universe, also brought within his enlightened genome 12 sacred geomantic encryption codes called Vecca codes, plus one other, the Akasha code, often known as the God Seed code, for it held the sound tones for the still point of the eternal void, called the Ek, EC, and the tones of the eternal light and sound fields, Ka, Ka, and Sha, SHA, and the eternal, perpetually renewed still point of eternal peace. These gifts of knowledge, light, and sound would slowly reset the human genome and allow it to expand consciousness in time for the 21st century. In fact, the first 7 primal sound tones for our whole time matrix of 15 dimensions are Ka, Ya, Ra, Sa, Ta, Ha, La. And this sounds out as Kristalla of the Aya first great void, the tonal core of outer first creation, a place right next to the original of all that is. This place, the Akasha Aya La body, is known in the ancient texts as the body of the Christ, the first son of God's source. This word son echoes Jesus' words about his father, God's source, and of him being the son, S-O-N, the creation of that father, God's source. The term body of the Christ also echoes Jesus' words at the Last Supper, when he broke bread and said to his disciples, "This is my body." He meant the body of the Christ, the Christos, which he represented while on earth. Jesus was telling those who could hear that he came as a living expression of the original, all that is, God source energy, and represented the first Son, S-U-N, the first Son of outer creation. Of course, back 2,000 years ago, Jesus couldn't explain to the people of those times all the cosmic energetic dynamics of the universe or its structure. And so he spoke in simpler terms of Father and Son and of body and light and sound. You see, we hold within our physical body template this Christ, representing the body of the divine masculine. As a code, we hold it as a code. And we also hold the heart of the Christ, which is known as the Kristalla, representing the divine feminine. And this word Kristalla reveals the deep historical connection between Christ and Allah, which was used by religious elites of our world ever since the Christos, returned into human consciousness 2,000 years ago. The divine masculine, the Christ, is the physical body template. And the Kristalla, the divine feminine, is right here, just below the sternum. So that's where the divine feminine is. The fallen used this religious connection, Christ, the Christ, and Allah, against humanity to create division and fear amongst us and to foster the crusades of all religious types, so that we would use all things spiritual against our own selves in a confusion of all that they called moral and right and godly. We see this today in political correctness everywhere. They said that whatever occurred was God's will, except they didn't say who's God. It certainly was not at all the Christos. The Vega codes and the Akasha were carried within the genome of the being known as Jesus, and the first code was released into the frequency grids of Earth on what we came to know as the first day of Christmas, the 21st of December of the year he was born. Jeshua 12 was born in 12 BC and was named Jeshua Melchizedek, a pre-ancient race line which today has filtered its elevated frequency into the genome of almost every angelic indigo on Earth. The dates, of course, were distorted by the Holy Roman Empire, so the when doesn't really matter, but the sequence of days truly does and what occurred in them. On the 12th day of Christmas, the 12th code was absorbed into Earth's planetary grids, and through that process, it was also absorbed slowly into the grids of all of us. The Akasha, the God Seed code, was inserted into the grids on the 13th day of Christmas, what we know as the 2nd of January. This 13th code holds the energetic power of the 13th pillar of light, also known as the Emery flame, which emanates from the heart of God's source and runs through every particle of life in our time matrix. And isn't it interesting that in our cultures, many of our cultures, 13 is regarded as an unfortunate, unlucky number. But in fact, 13 is a very powerful geomantic number, the Emery flame. So Jesus brought with him the energies of the original, the Maharata current, allowing us to bring back the Christos and to hold the energy of the Christos after so many hundreds of thousands of years. Jesus returned the full energies of the body of the Christ back into the planetary grids of Earth and also into us. What a Christmas gift that was, truly. We now hold this supreme energy within our own DNA, so that however slowly it might happen, we would expand our conscious awareness of our true identity self and of our true connection to and with God's source. For that is who we are. This is the gift that Jesus brought back to humanity. And this is what he meant when he told us that ye who have seen me have seen the Father. Meaning, when we see and know who we are as aspects of the Christos, we will know that we are also him in our energy and intent and in our personal Christos identity as one, the self-same energy of the Christos. That is truly who we are. And Jesus brought the memory of all of that true identity back into our hearts and into our DNA so that we would collectively and also individually expand our biogenetic form at the same time as we expanded our conscious awareness of our true identity as beings of source. You see, this story is our story, contained within the wonderful story of Jesus, truly the greatest story ever told. And the gift he brought the world in that first Christmas was the unique gift of love in oneness that the fallen had forced us to forget. Behind all of this has been the greatest story never told. The account of our Christos realignment mission, how it began, how it was shaped throughout our so-called history, and how it will end in joy and love and fulfillment of the grandest mission there has ever been, the mission that you and I have always been a part of, which is reawakening to the truth of who we are and our ineffable personal D12 Christos avatar, Maharata self-identity, the most wonderful Christmas gift of all, which manifests in the moment we truly open our spiritual hearts and realize that we too are the physical and spiritual embodiment of the Christos. This Christos manifests as love in oneness, where we know that we are all one, regardless of race, color, creed, language, or nation. And together as one, we shall sing the same sounds of love and joy in every way. One day. Happy Christmas, everyone, wherever you are.